Hello, hello, in the Swedish summer night. I am talking here because I have submitted the 15 chapters of Champions Now to Hero Games, and, well, I've been giving them chapters for months, but of course, as you work on the next one, you go back and you fix all the stuff in the previous ones. So when I say the 15 chapters, I basically mega dosed all of them in the course of finishing the last couple. Well, I'm wiped. My whole body hurts. Don't know why that is. Has something to do with writing. The last week has been pretty focused that way. Well, what next? What next is the whole thing has to get read by other people and red penned. Two reasons. One, you can't fully red pen yourself, and the writing is full of unnecessary crap like, well, and certainly, and obviously, and little phrases like that that are part of your thinking as you're writing and are shitty writing. So anyway, people have to go in and scrape all that out and then check all these other things like flow and things that you can't really do well for yourself. So there's that. And then there's this other issue, which is legacy. You make a change and it's all based on game design and playtesting, and you're sure about this rules change, but of course there's this or that reference to it or that notation that's not right now in some other chapter, and people have got to go through and be reading it fresh to see, hey, wait a minute, what is that? And you're like, oh wait, that changes. So they've got to red pen up that. Plus, rules. These are people mainly who've been playtesting and have a very good idea of how the rules work, and they're going to read it and they're going to say, we didn't do that, are you sure? Or they're going to say, you left out that whole thing. I mean, come on, what are you going to do when they wear Kevlar? Stuff like that. So all that, has to go through. The tough stuff like powers. I mean, what about super so-and-so? How would I do super so-and-so? There's no rule for that kind of thing. What's that about? So all that's being read through by multiple clever people who all have opinions. That shouldn't really take long, actually. The whole thing really isn't that big. It is about the size of the original core book. I said the original core book, but Mr. Bias here, I of course was talking about the third edition. The book, as has been announced and described, is not going to be in that standard format. It's going to be at the smaller standard format, 6 by 9 inches, and so therefore, probably going to be a little thicker than what you just saw, but that's pretty much the scope and scale of the text. Oh, what else? Comics pages are in there. Samples of pages torn from the stories of, comics titles that don't exist, but the pages look as if they do. And that's actually from 3 separate titles. I mean, like made-up titles. Because part of the point is not to have a canonical setting, but instead to show that you are to make your own comic. So there's 3 different styles and different concepts for superpowers and what the comic is about. So those are being drawn, and they're amazing. We have the cover, of course, and then there are those essays that we tossed in there during the Kickstarter, which are really no problem because this is stuff I've been writing about for years. I've got tons of text to work with and extract and say, okay, now what do I want to tell these people? And here's the material I have to do it. So putting that stuff together isn't that bad. Actually, should be pretty easy while all that red penning is going on. Well, that's the news. For those who care, there are other Adapt Play news afoot. Number 1 is the massive attention received recently by my game Circle of hands being played by people whom I don't know, who are also really good at that YouTube-y thing and have made really cool videos. So that's two separate groups of people playing Circle of Hands, which frankly is a pretty exciting game, and it's fun to watch. They have reflections and commentary in one case too, which is also quite instructive. Okay, so there's those. There is my trip to GothCon in Göteborg. I used to call it Gothenburg, now I don't. It is an awesome convention. I had a great time with people who really, really, really know their RuneQuest, and I've played a ton of RuneQuest, real oldie RuneQuest as well, which I brought, and a number of other great activities, a lot of experimental game design, a lot of really nice people to play with. And I have tons of footage from that, with a panel and different play groups and an interview, and all these things are, filmed. And what have I been doing? I've been writing. So now it's time to the editing room and getting all that ready for exposure. Thank you very much. This is me, my aches and pains, and a nice sense of spring-scented happiness. Talk to you later.